A new Gallup poll finds that Democrats are turning against free markets. 57% of Democrats have a favorable view of socialism compared to just 47% who view capitalism favorably. Ian Samuel is an associate professor at Indiana University, and he joins us tonight. Ian, thanks a lot for coming on.
Hey, great to be with you.
So I think our economic system is pretty skewed, and we're in a bad place. So I actually, unlike a lot of conservatives, understand why people are becoming skeptical of our version of capitalism. I am too. What I'm so struck by, though, is that Democrats aren't actually skeptical of capitalism. I never hear anybody on the left criticize Apple or Amazon or the private equity people or any of the people who are really making out more than anyone else in our society under our current economy. Why is that? They never criticize the system, ever.
I think you are confusing the Democratic Party with the left, right? So the Democratic Party, as presently constituted, is funded by capital, and their leaders will tell you that. But there is a vibrant movement on the left who are critical of capitalism as constituted in the United States and of the leadership of the Democratic Party. That is, in fact, the basis of their criticism. Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, et cetera.
Really, it's interesting because I sort of know what I mean, you're half right, but I don't remember the last time I heard anybody in either wing of the Democratic Party criticize Jeff Bezos. Ever, or Tim Cook at Apple.
You should.
Ever.
Listen to my friend Matt Stoller or Lena Khan. There are lots of people. I mean, Amazon's a good example because a lot of people on the left believe that Amazon is an example of a real monopoly problem, and that is actually an example of the way that markets have failed in the United States.
They're awfully quiet about it. So let me ask you this, though. So socialism, they've embraced socialism. Can you think of a place that it's worked? And don't give me some low population, totally homogenous Nordic country with a 1,000-year history of cooperation, okay? Because that's
not a very elegant gerrymander. Can you give me an example of some place that it's worked?
Well, I don't know.
Other than the Northern European countries where it works beautifully.
Other than Nordic, look, I spent the last week in a Nordic country. We have nothing in common with them. No, seriously, let's be real. Yeah.
I'll go along. I think it works well in the United States for the elderly, for example. The elderly in the United States live under a wonderful form of socialism. They have single-payer health care, they have a universal basic income in the form of Social Security, and they love it. So even in our heterogeneous country with its only 300-year history or so, socialism works quite well for the very old, and that's the exact reason that they're so politically engaged. They like it.
No, actually, you can't have socialism for part of the population. Socialism is a comprehensive system in which everybody participates, and the left is calling for a version of it now. So Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, among others, are now saying we need universal health care. And
that's exactly right.
And I understand Medicare for all. So
yeah.
Okay, but the cost, but hold on, the cost is not a small thing. So more than $32 trillion over a decade, doubling the entire federal budget. Don't just tell me that we're going to pay for it with savings. I mean, how exactly is that going to work in a country that's already incapable of paying its debts?
Well, so, Tucker, if you think Medicare for All is expensive, you should try the alternative. Not doing Medicare for All is going to cost $34 trillion. Now, those are two big numbers, but I think we both know which one is smaller. So, and don't forget, under Medicare for All, you actually get to cover everybody. Under the present system, you don't, right? And so, actually, you get a lot more for less money, and that's the art of the deal, my friend.
But wouldn't you need to close the borders immediately? Because if you offered this system where you get, quote, free health care, and you have open borders, which we obviously have, thanks to the left, how is that sustainable? Why wouldn't everyone in the hemisphere move to your country and partake of the free stuff? I mean, they would, correct? You can't have socialism and open borders at the same time, right?
Well, we certainly don't have any version of open borders right now. And if one believes that people who
we have 20 million people living here illegally
actually generate value, which is actually a capitalist idea, then you should be comfortable with that, which is why there's actually a little bit of a tension in what you're saying. Like, the open borders advocates are capitalists. Like the Koch brothers love
I'm very aware of that. The reason we have open borders is because the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are basically being bought off. And in the case of the Democratic Party, there's the added benefit of new voters. But I'm just saying you can't have enormously generous social welfare programs and open borders. And the truth is, we do. Like, if you want to move here, you can. We can't deport you from the state of California, for example. So is that sustainable? I mean, could you add another 100 million people with low education levels, no skills, to a universal health care scheme? Really?
So our tradition in the United States, as you well know, has been, and people can attack this from both sides, but our tradition has been that immigrants to the United States, before they are citizens, actually don't get access to most social welfare programs, right? They pay taxes, they pay lots of taxes, but they don't actually get access to a lot of government programs. And so if you just maintained that status quo, I think there's actually not a funding challenge at all. Now,
Okay,
you could say on the left,
I'm not allowed to use hold on, I'm not allowed to use the profanity on the air, so I'm not going to like spell out BS, but that's exactly what it is, what you just said. You telling me that there's a Democratic politician in America who would say, we're getting universal coverage, but non-citizens can't partake in it? There's not one who would say that. They would say, of course, we need to cover everybody.
That's essentially the way the Affordable Care Act works. And again, there are critics on both sides.
That's not true.
But it's not realistic to suggest there's not a way to navigate that. There clearly is.
Hold on.
And it's the status quo.
Do you think, a simple question, do you think there is any Democrat running for president who would look right into the camera and say, we need Medicare for all, but not non-citizens? There's not one.
Absolutely.
I bet you $1,000. Really, who? Who would say that?
Honestly, I think that Bernie Sanders got a lot of criticism because he has said, and remember, like border issues and immigration issues used to be a sort of left labor issue.
And then they had called him a racist, and I'm very aware of it. I just wrote a book on this, I know. But look, if he says that, I will give you $1,000. He's not brave enough to say that. Nobody on the left is brave enough to say that.
Well, don't give me $1,000. Give it to the campaign. I have $1,000. Give it to the campaign, Tucker.
That's not going to happen. Professor, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for.
Well, the latest edition of the New York Times editorial board is an open racist, also an